The following is a Podcast One Minnesota production.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
If it's made in Minnesota, who's making it and how?
Yeah, you got that right.
It's the makers of Minnesota, focusing on the products and services uniquely made in Minnesota, and conversations with the makers, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Minnesota about how they conceived of their products and how they brought them to market. With Stephanie Hansen, it's the makers of Minnesota.
Hi, this is Stephanie Hansen, and you're listening to The Makers of Minnesota, where we talk to cool people doing cool things throughout the state. We talk to people that are making food products, potentially making technology products, making beauty products, or things that will help you in the home. And today we have a very cool new product. We are talking with the folks from Revol Greens, and we are here with Brendan Krieg. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
And you are one of the founders. There's a bunch of you that got together and decided, hey, this boxed lettuce thing is really cool, but could we do it a little bit better? Is that kind of how the story started?
Sure. Yeah, there's 5 partners in Revol Greens, so I'm one of 5. There's a couple other partners came from Bush Boy. So yeah. Jay Johnson founded Bush Boy in 1989 and sold Bush Boy about 5 or 6 years ago. Has just been kind of on the sidelines of the greenhouse space. And 2 of his partners in Bush Boy, Marco DeBruin and Steve Amundsen, were head growers at Bush Boy. Left Bush Boy around the same time Jay did. And really started playing around with new techniques and ideas for growing different items in greenhouses. Bush Boy is a large tomato greenhouse,
yep.
Largest in the Midwest. So a ton of greenhouse growing experience on the team, and really spent the last 4 or 5 years honing in. How do we take it to the next level by growing lettuce and greens in a greenhouse?
How did you get on board? What was your experience prior to this?
Yeah, so my background is I've always been on the retail side. So I worked for Target for 7 years, and I was actually the buyer for this category. So I got to know the Bush Boy, Jay and Marco through the Target relationship. And then as I was buying, this category off the West Coast, spending a lot of time in California. And to back up a little bit, about 90% of lettuce and greens consumed in the United States are grown on the West Coast in California and Arizona.
Yep.
Over the past probably 5 to 10 years, they've faced more and more challenges with weather.
Yeah, and water.
Yeah, major drought challenges out there in California, more volatile weather patterns, labor challenges out there. And just the fact that it's grown over 2,000 miles away and trucked here to Minnesota, you just lose a lot of freshness and shelf life on a product like that.
How long ago has it been since we started buying box and bagged lettuce?
It's been, probably a category that's matured over the past 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, because I was trying to think back. You used to always buy your head of iceberg. And then if you wanted to buy spinach or, we didn't even have any of the other types of lettuces really that you could buy anywhere other than a farmer's market. Sure. And then the box lettuces came out and then the bags. And it's really been a category that has just grown so dramatically. You walk into a produce section now and you have a whole refrigeration section that's just lettuces. There's usually the Salad Girl salad dressings there. The Bold House Farms dressings are there. There's becoming more bagged other vegetables there. But that didn't exist in the grocery store 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you were riding that wave of building that out and seeing that category grow.
Sure. Yeah, there's so many choices in the category, like you said, and that that's part of our challenge is breaking into a category that I think has really matured over the past 10 years or so.
So you say it's matured because you now have a lot of traffic that goes there. People know what to expect there, and then at the same time, what I'm noticing about that category is other things are coming in riced cauliflower and more versions of different kinds of radishes and peas. And is that squeezing the lettuce people a little bit for shelf space?
Yeah, it is. It is. I think as people, people are eating healthier. There's the paleo diets out there and everything, and people are looking for more and more ways to get fresh food and fresh produce into their diets. And more of that is coming into the fresh produce space. And they want it sort of grab and go. Exactly. Yep. And at the same time, you see retailers and grocers really shifting as well too, where with the introduction of Whole Foods and Fresh Time. Really, we're seeing the produce and fresh space expand and take space from, the CPG world, the Cokes and Pepsis of the world. Yep. So it's really twofold. Yeah, they are coming into that space, but the space is growing at the same time. So I always read and heard that when you go to the grocery store, all the good things for you are on the outside ring and all the bad things for you are on the inside ring. Mm-hmm. You are on the outside ring. And I mean, people listening to this maybe are like, oh, great, lettuce. But I just want to take a second to actually tell you how good I think the product is. It is, first of all, I love the packaging. It's bright, it's cheerful. I like all the colors. You pull the film off the top to open it versus having another plastic lid that you have to fit properly. And then when you're done, you just kind of press that lid back like a press and seal. I really like that because I always hate wrestling with the other lids. The product itself, when you say like, oh, greens, these taste better, I'm like, sure. Your product does taste better. It's crisper. It tastes better. It lasts longer. When you have the use by date on your package and I have it in my refrigerator for an extra week past that, which happens a lot to me, I know I'm not going to open it and find it all slimy in the middle. There's something about the way your package circulates air, I think, that's better. Sure. I'm probably selling like all of your selling points, but I just think these Revol Greens are really, the marketing is true. Like they really taste better. Why do they taste better? Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we agree with you, obviously. Of course, I just did your job for you. Yes. Thanks for coming today. With the packaging, we did a lot of research. We didn't want to be just another clamshell or bag salad on the shelf. We wanted to really highlight something different. And that's what we went with, what we called our top seal package. So we have a seal on the top, like you said, versus, a traditional clamshell, which would have a separate lid. It uses about 30% less plastic than a traditional clamshell. So there's that piece of it. But also we're able to, there's actually micro perforated holes on the front of this package. And it's different for every blend of lettuce we have based on the respiration rates of the lettuce. So the package is really, really engineered and built to preserve the product as much as possible. So it is. So I'm not a complete nut because I really do think that they just stay fresher longer. Yeah, I think a lot of it too is, it's just grown so much closer. I mean, the likelihood of you getting our product 6, 7, 8 days closer to when it was actually harvested is much, much higher than a bagged lettuce or salad from Salinas or from California. Yeah, because if you have spinach that's been in Arizona, let's say, mm-hmm. and you get that out of the farm, how long does it take it to get that lettuce from Arizona to that farm to my local grocery store? Usually just the transportation from Arizona to a distribution center in Minnesota or depending on the retailer is between 4 to 6 days. Okay. Just in transit time there. Then it goes into usually a central warehouse where it may take another couple days to get to the store. And you have buyers who are essentially estimating their movement. So they'll have a certain amount of of stock that they are circulating and going through. So it's literally could be 10 days. Definitely, yep. Oh, that's could at least be 10 days. Yeah, because you have this idea that you look at your clamshell and, you're trying to make sure that you're buying it by the sold by date because mm-hmm. everyone hates it when you get the old lettuce, which sometimes happens. And so you're feeling like you're getting it the freshest you can, but it's still likely 10 days old. Sure. Wow. Sure. Okay, so why do the greens taste better, and why are you this whole greenhouse technology? I know gets really complicated, but these are they aquaponic? It's actually hydroponic, so
Okay.
it's a little different. Aquaponic uses a fish system as fertilizer. We don't use fish. Nothing against the fish. It's just we really wanted to focus on growing lettuce and being the best that we could at growing lettuce. So it's technically a hydroponic system.
Okay, and that means it's grown in the air.
It's grown in water. It's grown
in
on
water.
ponds.
Okay.
Yep. So the roots are in water, but it's a bit of a hybrid system because we actually use a soil medium. Most hydroponic systems do not use soil. They would grow with roots directly in water. So we use a soil medium with water, and then we think really the secret of our system is we have the roots are in the water. Then we have an air pocket built into our floating boards.
Yep.
And then the soil, and then obviously the plant. So what that does is it really allows us to get airflow and oxygen to the roots, and it also really makes the plant work for its nutrients because it has to go into the water, through the air pocket, through the soil medium to get its nutrients, and that's what gives the plant really strong cell structure and really gives it that crunch. Yep.
And crisp.
Exactly.
So then do they wash the dirt off, or how do you have it so that it's not like dirty on the roots like some of the other?
Sure. So we don't wash the dirt off. Basically what happens is it runs through the trays are about 18 inches by 4 feet long. They are put in the greenhouse on one end, and over about a 17-day period, they work their way to the other end of the greenhouse. So
that's how long it takes? Only 17 days?
Yep.
Wow.
About 3 to 4 days in a germination room. So the total cycle is about 21 days.
From seed to
harvest.
Yeah,
yep.
Neat.
Yep. So we're planting and harvesting every single day. So essentially it starts at one end of the greenhouse. It's harvested at the other end of the greenhouse. It goes through a flume system through an automatic cutter.
Yeah.
So essentially we're cutting above the dirt line. Yep. So the plants, the leaves and the plants never touch the water, and we're cutting the root system off.
And then what happens to the leftover, like the leftover plant, dirt, roots? It just gets tossed
it
and
gets
then you start
composted.
over.
Yep. It gets composted. The boards are sterilized and reused, and the process starts all over again.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, you must need a lot of space to do this.
So our facility is about 2.5 acres.
Okay.
Which for a greenhouse is actually relatively small. Bushel Boy is about 10 times that size. But because the crop cycle is so short, we can get a lot of production out of that. We're a 7-day-a-week operation. So, when you have a 17-day crop cycle, it's important to get every day out of that. So we are literally planting and harvesting every single day.
And is it mechanically planted, or is it like someone putting a little germinator in the little machine or the tray?
It's very automated. We have an automatic seeder.
Okay.
So it's fairly automated. Obviously, there's still someone there, watching it, moving the trays, but yeah, it's very automated. We plant about, depending on the variety, about 600 to 800 seeds per board. So that would be really difficult to do, by hand for sure.
So based on where sales are at today, because you're in Lund's, you're in Byerly's, you're in Hy-Vee, you're in Kowalski's, you're Cub Foods, you're pretty much everywhere. Mm-hmm. Based on sales today and the capacity that you have, are you at like 10% capacity? Are you at 20%? How much more room do you have to keep growing Revol Greens?
I think we still have room, a little bit of room in this, this facility, but it's really built for expansion. So our facility, our packing area, our coolers, everything is built for up to 10 acres of greenhouse space.
Oh, cool. So that,
Yeah. So we only have 2.5 today. So it's so
you thought ahead.
Exactly. Yep.
Who was so smart that, really knew that if we start at this scale, we need to have preparation for the next scale? Was it Jay?
I think it's Jay, Marco, and Steve from their Bushel Boy experiences, because I think Bushel Boy, Bushel Boy started with just a couple acres. Now they're 28 acres. And, through that time, they probably had, 5 to 10 different expansions that they didn't think about. And so I think it's really just that level of experience of going through it in the past and thinking, okay, we need to be ready for expansion. We don't want to make, some of the same mistakes we may have made before that will end up costing us more. So yeah, we've planned for growth and expansion, and, really to quadruple our size, it's as simple as adding more glass, more greenhouse space. And we have the equipment and everything to do that.
So lettuce, two things. If you were to expand, like, because these are Minnesota greens, is that expansion all predicated on that we could probably do Minnesota and Wisconsin well? Or is it just Minnesota? You know, a lot of businesses, it's like, we need to grow, we need to grow, we need to grow.
Sure.
Are you going to be happy just growing in Minnesota, or what would that look like?
You know, our goal is, or I guess our market is a 200-mile radius.
Okay.
From where we are, so it definitely gets into Iowa and Wisconsin.
Sure.
We're in a lot of those stores. So I think when you look at a category like this, hydroponic lettuce, where it's traditionally grown out, so far west, I think really it's important to be sort of Midwest grown to
and
to
even
many
within
retailers.
200 miles, you're still like getting somewhere in 2 days, 4 days tops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can get almost basically almost 500 miles in a day, versus 2,000 miles from California.
And that has to improve. Like, so if you have a super fresh product that you're putting on my shelf, I can have it. The grocer must like that because it can sit at the grocer for now 5 days instead of only 3 days because it took the extra 5 to get here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we definitely encourage them to move it just
Rotate,
as fast,
yeah.
really, so the customer gets it. So you get that time,
Yep.
at home in your refrigerator. Not as much in the back room of the grocery store. But it's, I think one thing too is the lead time is so much shorter, and I think that the average consumer doesn't think about this, but as a buyer, that's so important. If you can call today for an order tomorrow, versus California, you call today, maybe they'll get it on a truck tomorrow. You'll get it. You're lucky to get it in a week. That lead time and the ability to react to changes in demand and sales is really, really important.
Now, you are a sales guy at heart,
Sure,
right?
Sure.
Can you tell me just you personally as an entrepreneur, so you have this cushy job with Target, and these guys come to you and they're like, yeah, we're going to do this thing. And I mean, you probably have a family. Like, what made you decide to bet on these people and leave your cushy Target job and decide to go chase the entrepreneurial dream? Do you remember making that decision and knowing when you made it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think I made it, over a period of time. But really, I think a lot of it was really, my experience going out to see these farms in California and seeing, the issues that they're facing and the challenges, really from a sustainability standpoint.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get involved and say, okay, we can grow this product indoors. We can use 90% less water than they grow outside. They have a major water problem. We have a lot of water here in Minnesota. We recycle all of our water off of the roof of our building too. So very, very sustainable process, and it's really something I wanted to get involved with.
And you really could, like, these are Revol Greens and they're Minnesota and within 200 miles. But let's say you decided you wanted to open a Revol Greens in California. It would be California grown.
Sure.
You could replicate this system and replicate this idea. Is that like big picture thinking?
Definitely. I think it would be customer driven. If we get a customer, like Hy-Vee or someone, for example, that said, hey, I really love what you guys are doing for our stores in Minnesota. Can you put one of these in Iowa or wherever, St. Louis? I think we would definitely.
Now you have Revol Greens California grown.
Sure.
Or even private label. Like it could be Hy-Vee's private label lettuce right?
It could, yeah, definitely.
Do any of the grocers do private label lettuce yet?
They do. There's a few that do private label lettuce. And again, most of it is product from California and Arizona.
Sure, and they're just relabeling it. Yep.
Yep.
And is there economies of scale there? So if you're Hy-Vee and you say, hey, Revol, I want you to do this lettuce, I guess they have to see if there's enough margin in it to make it worth it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Interesting. So you guys are building social media, brand new from the ground up. I'm curious about that because like your Facebook page has about 1,000 followers. You're a brand new company. How do you get followers?
That's a great question. That's been a bit of a challenge, but we actually partnered with Salad Girl, Pam, who's I know has been on this podcast before, and she's been wonderful. I met Pam a few years ago when I was a buyer at Target. She came in and demoed her salad dressings right when Target first started carrying her dressings. So I knew, when we started talking about this, how are we going to market? We needed help. We need help from
because it's not. It's just not super sexy to look at your processing plants.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We knew we needed someone with expertise who could help us with recipes, photos of our product. Really, it just made a lot of sense. Another Minnesota company, Salad Girl, shares a lot of the same, thoughts,
attributes about
exactly,
how to market products
that we do. So our partnership with the Salad Girl has been really, really helpful. And I think, honestly, we've gotten a lot of followers from Salad Girl and their
that's
help
nice.
there.
So what other entrepreneurs maybe that don't have a fan base could consider is partnering with people that do, or finding a way to co-promote, I guess, as
exactly.
it were.
Yeah. Find a like item. Someone, we're there's obviously a lot of synergies with lettuce and greens and salad dressing. We're doing a lot of demos in stores together, because it makes sense. She needs lettuce and greens for dressing. We need the dressing. So,
when you think about Instagram, and do you get involved in like actually having to like talk about what's getting posted, or does some marketer come to you and be like, hey, here's what we're going to post, and here's the pictures, and here's what our lifestyle brand is? Yeah.
We're so small. It's essentially me doing all the Instagram posts and Facebook posts right now. And obviously, sharing and working with Salad Girl on some of their posts as well. But I think we have a couple different types of followers. I think we have some followers who are just really interested in, the engineering, the process, the sustainability, so we'll post a lot of pictures of our greenhouse up, talk about our rainwater retention system. And there's people that just think that's cool. And then there's the followers that, that are looking for things like, recipes and, what to do with our product, where to find it, and things like that. So, we try to mix it up, but, we definitely will continue to work on that. For sure.
And maybe other affiliations, like if you can find, and this is, I think, the moral of the story, if you're brand new, like find who your target market is, and then are there other products and people in that space that maybe you could partner with that makes sense?
Sure.
What do you want? This is like your commercial, right? And we're getting ready to wrap up. What do you want people to know about Revol Greens?
I think we just want people to know that it's a fresh, local, healthy alternative to product grown thousands of miles away. The fact is that once lettuce is picked, even our lettuce, it starts to degrade. The closer you can consume lettuce and greens to harvest, the more nutrient content it has. And we're our processes are very sustainable. We grow indoors. We're growing year round here in Minnesota. We use as much natural light as we possibly can. We supplement with LED lighting in the winter. And the idea is that we're essentially trying to emulate that same spring or summer day 365 days a year. So we're local, we're consistent. Quality should be essentially the same. Day in, day out.
You guys launched right about the same time where there was a big romaine lettuce scare because there was some disease that was being spread through romaine lettuce that was coming from, I believe, Arizona.
Correct.
Is this a positive? I mean, it's not a positive thing for you because when everyone's telling everyone don't buy romaine lettuce, you get lumped in there.
Correct.
But are we less likely to get those types of illnesses from products like yours?
Sure. Yeah, that the romaine, the E. coli outbreak in romaine, was a challenge because, like you said, I mean, it sort of, people avoid romaine and even lettuce altogether. If you don't know where it's from, you avoid it. E. coli is a disease or a bacteria that comes from animals.
Yep.
We grow indoors. We really are protected from the elements. If you think of outdoor field product, it's really, really hard to
manage all those variables.
Exactly. Wildlife,
Yep.
Bird strikes, contaminated water sources, so anytime you can control all those variables, your risk factors go way, way down.
Okay. So I want people to hear that, because there was this whole period of like 2 weeks where nobody was eating salad because of this situation. And I get it, but there are choices to be made locally, and you can continue to eat your salad and have comfort, or your spinach, as it were, because we hear a lot of illness coming from spinach too, and certainly other products. But so your romaine crunch is good, your spring mix is good, your spinach is good, and people should buy it. It's Revol Greens, so you can find it at all of your local grocers, really. You're in all the co-ops too, right?
Most of the co-ops, yeah.
Yeah. So look for it, find it, and just know that you're buying a cool Minnesota-made product. Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks, Stephanie.